restroom emergencies, major germ spreaders, and food offerings that could make your stomach churn. A Disney World vacation may not be as nice and tidy as you originally thought. In fact, it can be downright nasty. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. I know we don't like to think about the parts of Disney World that aren't just sweet smelling aromas and squeaky clean hotel rooms, but the truth is Disney World is still part of the real world, and the real world can sometimes mean nasty circumstances that aren't all that magical. So today we're going to address the yucky parts of Disney World that you might run across during your next visit and how you can find ways to make them a little less gross. That's right, you can count on us to cover all of Disney World, not just the good parts. We're starting out with an issue that a lot of us come across, especially in public restrooms. Don't worry, it's not scary. There's no trigger warning. It's running out of toilet paper. Now, this is definitely an emergency, and you need to plan ahead. I can't stand this happening even outside the Disney parks. Doesn't matter where you are, the bathroom of a 5-star restaurant or a soggy stall located on the edge of the lake. No toilet paper is a crisis, so this is why it's always nice to have those flushable wipes in your park bag, maybe some tissues, and not just if you have a baby tagging along in your party. You never know when you may be the person who needs them most. You can find several different brands of flushable wipes in your local big box store or on Amazon. Also, those little packs of tissues come in really, really handy for multiple things. So just always have one of those on you too. And you may think this is silly, but this is why it's not a bad idea to use the buddy system if you're traveling in a bigger group. That way, if a crisis like this does strike, you can still call out to your buddy to hand some TP your way. Or if you're brave enough, you can always ask the person next to you to kindly help you with your toilet paper conundrum. I know it can be kind of embarrassing, but most people really won't mind, because they'd also want help if they were in the same situation. Now, before you get yourself in this kind of predicament, you should check the TP supply before you commit to a stall. There's lots of stalls. So if you notice the supply is running dangerously low, then you narrowly avoided that unfortunate fate. Just make sure to warn others nearby and report the shortage to a cast member so they can replace it. But the way to get out of this situation is to be prepared. Bring those little tissues, bring some wipes. Now this next nasty problem tends to pop up no matter how prepared you think you might be. Really horrible, gross, and painful blisters. Even good park shoes have the potential of rubbing your heel the wrong way after wearing them for tens of thousands of steps for days upon days. By day 3 or 4 of walking around Disney World, you might take off your shoes at the end of the night and find one of those bulging, throbbing, painful blisters that aren't just hard to look at, but also hard to walk around sporting for the remainder of your trip. This actually happened to me recently. I mean, it happens to me all the time, I'm not going to lie, but it happened to me recently when I had to run a little bit, which I know you're not supposed to do, in a pair of wet flip-flops. Again, no, you're not supposed to do that, but I got the worst blisters ever, and I literally had to go to a store and buy like a 5-pack of these really awful knee-high, like, character socks, and I just like loaded them all onto my feet just to be able to walk out of the park and back to my car. Luckily, I ended up at Coronado Springs where a very kind cast member was able to find me some moleskin, which I'll tell you, it feels like a literal lifesaver at that point. Anyway, here's what you're going to want to do. Bring some bandages in that park bag of yours and make them those bandages with that hydro seal that won't rub away as soon as you take a few steps. Again, I also really, really like using moleskin. I don't know why I didn't have it in my park bag on that particular day, but I pretty much always have moleskin in my park bag because there have been so many times that I've needed it. If you're feeling any sort of hot spot, just slap a piece of moleskin on there and it's going to be very, very helpful. If you forget to pack any band-aids ahead of time, swing by one of the first aid centers inside the Disney parks, and one of those medical cast members will be able to provide you with 1 or 2 for free. Before you head to the parks, make sure to take whatever shoes you're planning on using for a little test run before relying on them to carry you through an entire Disney World vacation. Wear them around your hometown mall or in a nearby park or around a local arts and crafts festival. Even if these shoes haven't done you dirty in the past, it's still best to make sure they hold up after all this time and aren't causing you any issues that you haven't noticed before. And very few people walk 20,000 steps in a day, so try to plan a day out where you're going to do a lot of walking and wear your Disney World shoes on that day to make sure they can stack up. These nasty problems have the potential of messing with more than just your physical health, but also your emotional well-being too. If you're at the end of a long, sweaty park day, you've ridden water rides, you've sat in seats that lots of other people have sat in, and now all you want to do is take a shower before hitting the hay. But You know the kids in your group need to take showers first so they can get to bed as soon as possible, and once everyone else in your group has already gotten all squeaky clean and ready to drift off to dreamland, it's your turn. But that could mean finally hopping in the shower, getting yourself dried off, and eventually crawling under the covers when it's well past midnight. And if you plan on being up at 6 a.m. to get dressed and take advantage of early theme park entry, that means you sacrificed a full night's sleep for the sake of cleanliness, and that just doesn't seem fair. Lots of ways to avoid this. But one of the easiest is to invest in a hotel room with 2 bathrooms. Now, I know that's expensive, but if you're a family who knows you're going to benefit from this, I definitely want you to know about it. Multi-bathroom hotel rooms can be found in Disney World's villas and family suites, which you'll be able to book at those deluxe villa resorts. But you can also book a family suite for a cheaper price at value resorts like Art of Animation and All Star Music. This particularly goes for All Star Music, which always has the cheapest family suites of the bunch. For a cheaper suite option with deluxe benefits, you can book a suite over at Walt Disney World's Swan and Dolphin. The Swan and Dolphin, which partner with Disney but are actually owned by Marriott, have family rooms that could end up costing you the same amount you'd normally pay for a standard room at a Disney-owned moderate resort. And yes, most all styles will offer you that sweet double bathroom deal. For more info on prices and different suite styles, you can call 800-227-1500. And now we're back to the topic of feet, because your poor feet will go through the ringer during this trip. Let's talk about wet socks. Wearing a sturdy tennis shoe around Disney World sounds like a great idea, but if you're like me and you can't stand the thought of wearing soggy socks all day long, then you might want to rethink the footwear, because wet socks equals wrinkled, aching, and smelly feet, and potentially those blisters. Sure, you can end up getting your shoes and socks soaked through via water ride or splash zone, but if Florida decides to serve up one of their famous afternoon showers, then one false move, stepping into a puddle, because it does tend to flood there, and there go your nice dry socks for the rest of the day. Here are some recommendations. Bring more than one pair of socks. Now, I'm not talking about packing them in your suitcase. I'm talking about bringing them to the parks. And bring those plastic baggies. If you do end up switching out your socks, you're going to need a place to put the wet pair, because you sure don't want to just put those loosely in your backpack with all your other stuff. That's gross. So having a plastic baggie handy, or even a resealable bag that you can reuse for future uses, will keep your moist socks from touching your phone or your wallet or your snack from before, or just soak them through your bag in general. Or if you're not partial to tennis shoes in the first place, you can stick with a reliable park-worthy sandal instead. Just make sure the sandal you choose has some form of arch support and an ankle strap to keep you from continuously slipping all over the place as you walk if you happen to be in the rain. And again, before you commit to a certain shoe, take it for a test run and make sure it's going to hold up and treat you well on vacation. I've worn sandals that should have been perfect, but still gave me those hot spots and those blisters. And now it's time to go back to the bathroom. But stay with me, because this is a tip that I think can be really, really, really useful, especially if you're going to Disney World with kids. You know how those automatic toilets get a little too excited about doing their job and flush on you prematurely? Well, for most of us, that can be startling for sure, but it's not going to keep us from using that restroom. But with younger kids who are new to this whole potty training thing, an automatic flushing toilet can be terrifying. It may be a good idea to show younger kids these types of automatic toilets ahead of time, like at a store or a restaurant that you know has them. That way they're not just becoming acquainted with these when they get to the parks. You may also want to pack Post-it notes. Strange correlation? Not exactly. Post-it notes are a great way to cover the toilet sensors to prevent them from flushing before they're supposed to. That way, kids don't have to panic over the toilet not allowing them to finish before they're done and ready to move on. Just remember to take the Post-it off the toilet sensor after your kid's done and wash your hands thoroughly after. And now for the nasty point you knew we were going to talk about sooner or later. Being nauseous or nauseated, whatever word you want to use, after eating a certain food or riding a ride isn't just nasty feeling. It can be upsetting and embarrassing. If you know you have a sensitivity to certain foods, like if you have a gluten allergy or a lactose intolerance, or your gallbladder hates you when you eat fried stuff, then you need to avoid those foods when you can. Just because you're on vacation doesn't mean your body's personal set of rules is going to magically disappear. If anything, food sensitivities can be worse when you're hot and tired and dehydrated from walking around all day. So know your limits and don't force yourself to eat anything that may trigger stomach issues for the rest of the day. Disney is getting better and better about offering a wider range of allergy-friendly options for people with certain sensitivities on their different menus. But if you have any more specific questions or concerns, let your server know beforehand. They're going to more than likely ask you about any food allergies, but but if they don't, give them a quick reminder and they'll make sure your specific needs are taken care of. You can also request to see the dietary binders at quick service locations. Those are going to list all the specific ingredients used in each item of the restaurant, so you're not caught off guard by anything on the menu that may be a hidden ingredient. And if you're prone to motion sickness from rides, try to steer clear of the ones that'll spin you relentlessly, like Mission Space and Epcot and Mad Hatter's Tea Party and Magic Kingdom. Some folks are also triggered by 3D and 4D attractions, and if that's you, be careful when you ride experiences like Remy's Ratatouille Adventure in Epcot and Star Tours and Toy Story Mania in Hollywood Studios. Don't want to miss out on these rides? I get it. Just make sure you're packing tummy meds that'll help relieve motion sickness before or after the ride. In the past, the DFB team has had success with over-the-counter items like Bonine or non-drowsy Dramamine, but always read the ingredients on the bottles before purchasing any particular drugstore medication to make sure it's what you're going to be able to benefit from the most. Also, if you forget to do that, you can go to First Aid and get yourself some Dramamine before you ride. Another quick note, make sure to eat something before you ride a ride that may give you tummy problems. When I first rode Cosmic Rewind, I rode it on an empty stomach and I felt really sick. Once I'd gotten a little something in my stomach, it was a better experience. I think the astronauts who consulted on the ride Mission Space said to eat a banana. Now, we all know you can run, but you can't hide from this next nasty problem. Your baby will leak everywhere. You may be in line to ride Dumbo the Flying Elephant one minute, and next you're desperately scrounging for a change of clothes because your sweet baby is not smelling all too sweet at the moment. Remember that extra pair of socks advice I gave you earlier? Let's go ahead and copy and paste that here. Except instead of bringing socks, bring an extra change of clothes for your little one so you won't be forced to buy an overpriced onesie or a pair of Mickey-themed pants from one of the Disney World gift shops. This is also a great idea for toddlers who could get their clothes soaked while running around in those water play areas that seem to pop up everywhere, or they stain their shirts from chocolate from that Mickey Premium bar. And you know what? I got a great suggestion for what kind of extra shirt you can keep on hand. We've got a range of Disney tees on the DFB store websites, merch.dfbstore.com. We've got adult shirts, teen shirts, kid shirts, even DFB onesies for your baby. And they're going to cost you less than an extra shirt will cost you in Disney World. So go ahead and check those out next. And by the way, if your baby does leak, they may leak on you, so you do want to pack an extra shirt for you as well. When my kid was little, I just packed an extra kind of lightweight pair of clothes for both him and me, just in case. All right, aside from having an extra change of clothes on hand at all times, here are 3 other tips you need to know in case you're in Mayday red alert mode. Tip 1, use the baby care centers as needed. These are located in each of the Disney parks and will give you a nice quiet location to take a break with your kiddo, which could mean not just getting their clothes changed, but also getting them fed or giving them a moment to cool down out of the sun. Tip 2, don't forget about your resort's laundry services. There are self-service laundry facilities located at each of the Disney resorts where you can quickly clean up any major outfit messes. And best of all, you don't have to hang out there until your load of laundry is done. You can have a text alert sent to your phone to let you know when your clothes are all ready again. You can throw them in the dryer and then you'll get another text alert that they're ready. Tip 3, have grocery services on speed dial. Those grocery delivery apps like Amazon Fresh and Instacart, those can be really useful when you need to get more diapers or wipes, and even clothing on the spot. Just place your order through the app and have these items delivered to your hotel. You'll have to pick them up at Bell Services once they'll arrive, but they're going to be a lot cheaper if you order them from one of the grocery stores than if you buy them at Disney. So are there any nasty Disney World problems that happen on purpose? Well, some Disney World attractions hit you with a certain foul odor that'll make you plug your nose and pray it doesn't return for the remainder of the ride. Like it's tough to be a bug, for instance, when you're blasted with a stink bug's aroma, or Journey into Imagination with Figment when our purple dragon friend sprays us with skunk smell. So how do you handle these sudden bouts of horrid smells? Well, the smellitizers made by Disney aren't designed to linger. They're just meant to pump scents into certain areas of the park or the ride and give more immersive feels around the area you're currently in. These are more commonly used for good instead of evil. For instance, this scented tech is also used on rides like Soarin' Around the World to pump in the good smelling stuff, like that jasmine scent as you fly over the Taj Mahal. And you can also smell a really strong kind of sweet cinnamony scent while walking down Main Street USA in Magic Kingdom. And that's not just the pastries doing the work here. That's the smellitizers tempting you with the promise of sugary goodness. So not all of those scents are bad scents, but there are a couple of rides where that does happen. And if you're super sensitive to it, maybe those aren't the rides you should go on. So we here at DFB have been burned by this next gross problem one too many times, and eventually we're going to be burned by it again because that's our job. Does Disney World have good food? Yes. Is all of it good? No. Which entrees and snacks are considered not all that great? Well, that depends. Everyone's got a different palate. One person may steer clear from jumbo turkey legs at all costs, while another person has to hunt them down each time they visit. And you may love the prefix offerings at Space 220 and Epcot, like the Blue Moon cauliflower and the Space Getty and shrimp and the peanut caramel comet, while someone else may think the experience is overpriced and overrated. So to avoid paying for a snack, entree, or drink that you're going to want to throw away as soon as you take a bite, there are 3 things you want to do instead. 1, study the menus on the Disney World website. Disney's not shy when it comes to telling you all about their unique offerings before you head off for vacation. So take advantage of their online menus and see what ingredients make up each of the foods and drinks that you're interested in trying. 2, request a modification. Just because the menu claims there's a certain ingredient on an entree doesn't mean you can't ask for it to be removed or substituted for something else. Again, it never hurts to ask your server about certain dishes to see if modifications are possible. They aren't always, but some of them will be possible within reason. Now remember, it's reasonable to ask for an entree without a certain sauce or dressing, but it's not exactly reasonable to try to ask for a certain ingredient to be removed from a pre-mixed drink. Don't make it weird. And 3, consider ordering one of our digital guides from our dfbstore.com website. We've got restaurant, snack, and festival guides that don't just give recommendations for what we enjoy, but also feature sections that take an in-depth look into the pros and cons of each type of food offering. This next item on our list really makes me sick to think about, and this is why Disney World is called a petri dish. Few things gross me out more than watching a guest sneeze into their hands and then immediately grab onto a handrail or pull down on a lap restraint. It just makes me hyper aware of everything I touch in a Disney park from then on out. So listen, always pack those travel-sized hand sanitizers in your park bag. I don't care if you're using the fancy ones from Bath & Body Works or the cheapy Purells and Germ-X's you can pick up in bulk from Amazon or Walmart. As long as it kills germs, you're good to go. Disney World does have hand sanitizer stations located around their parks in multiple areas, but these aren't always reliable. There have been several times when we've tried to get some only to find they've been dry as a bone, which again is why it's really important to pack your own sanitizer ahead of time. Now, what could possibly be worse than germy lap restraints on rides? Well, let's talk about buffet grossness. Look, there are buffets on Disney World property that I really do love. Boma at Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge, nice spread of African-inspired cuisine. Tusker House in Animal Kingdom Park, similar African and American variety with the addition of meeting and greeting some of the Fab Five characters in their safari garb. And Hollywood and Vine in Disney's Hollywood Studios has a very unique character meet and greet experience, along with their assortment of hearty offerings for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you can't deny that a buffet provides more options to satisfy a range of eaters in your family. You also don't have to wait for your food to be prepared. Just pick up a plate and start piling on the grub. But the buffet benefits don't always outweigh the negatives. I've been at buffets where I've seen kids literally licking the serving spoons. Guests have coughing fits before reaching for a certain item, or teens pick up an item and decide, I don't want it, and then put it back after already touching it. So how do you handle the buffet gross factor? Well, again, easy. Don't go. Admittedly, I'm only partially teasing this time. If you're someone who can't stand the thought of other people possibly handling your food other than the chefs, or other people even being near your food in general, there are some of you out there, then you may want to skip the all-you-can-eat buffets and stick to the all-you-care-to-enjoy family-style table service offerings instead. That's where limitless food is brought to you. Family-style restaurants on Disney World property include options like Whispering Canyon Cafe at Wilderness Lodge, Liberty Tree Tavern in Magic Kingdom, Garden Grill at Epcot, and Ohana at Disney's Polynesian Village Resort. If you really want to go to one of the Disney buffets regardless of the ick factor, or someone else in your group has a lifelong dream of experiencing Chef Mickey's and Disney's Contemporary Resort, try making a reservation for any of the buffet services right when they open for breakfast or lunch. That way, you can be one of the first guests in line to grab that fresh grub. Also, when you notice a certain item that you want to try on the buffet is getting rather low, wait for the chefs to replenish the dish so you can be the first person to grab an untouched helping without the fear of spoon lickers invading your brain as you scoop portions onto your plate. And for those of you who didn't know that this stuff happens at buffets, I apologize. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. Now, typically when you go to a table or signature meal, your table will be cleaned off before you're seated, but that's not always the case when it comes to fast food locations. Though cast members are working hard to keep up with wiping down tables before more guests shuffle in, there's still a good chance you'll need to grab a table right when another family starts to leave so that you're not left tableless during the restaurant's busier times. And that could mean you've got to sit in leftover crumbs and sticky soda residue. The easiest solution here is to wave down a cast member manning the dining room area and ask for a helping hand. As long as they're not already preoccupied with another assignment, they should be able to help you clear off the table and make it good as new. But if a cast member is currently working with another guest and you don't want to interrupt, this is when having a pack of wet wipes is nice to have tucked away in your bag. I always have these with me, and I more often than not find a reason to use them. Either way, a sticky table doesn't have to stay sticky for long, so don't toss the white flag prematurely and decide to dine on a table that hasn't been wiped down, because that's gross. And finally, this is something that many of our DFB team members have had to manage in Disney parks. It happens, folks. One minute you're minding your own business, grabbing a Mickey pretzel from a snack kiosk, and the next minute you're feeling a warm splat on your shoulder. We've already gone through all the steps of what you should do if your kids' clothes get soiled, and the same rules apply for anyone else. If the bird poops on you, your options again are using those laundry services, packing extra shirts, and having merch delivery service apps downloaded just in case. But I'm going to throw in one more nifty little item you can pack away in your bag for instant cleanliness, and that's a Tide stain remover pen, or any stain remover pen. I don't care if it's Tide. Stain remover pens accomplish exactly what they say they'll do in their name. They remove stains before they become permanent bird poopy blotches on your shirt. Just shake them up and scribble them over the offending spot. You can get a bleach pen at drugstores, big box stores, or off Amazon.com. You can get those stain remover pens at the same places. A 3-count will usually cost you around $9. They're not heavy, they don't take up a lot of space, and they will come in handy. All right, anybody else ready for a bath? Okay, me too. A Disney World trip isn't going to make you feel downright filthy all the time, but much like any other type of touristy destination, you won't be 100% immune to the grossness that could spring up every now and then. Now you know how to prepare more for the nastiness than ever before. Now let me just grab 30 bottles of soap and I'll be on my way. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. I know some of you are not as serious about these things as I maybe am, or some folks on our team are, but hopefully this will come in handy for you at some point when you're in Disney World. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.